Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we're looking at a Figma. I haven't looked at a Figma in a long time. I think I have one on pre-order. What is it? I think it's the Doom guy. I think I have that Figma on pre-order. Anyway, we're looking at a Figma because a buddy of mine bought this and asked if I wanted to review it. Said it was kind of cool, so here we are. I thought it was a cool design and we're going to review it thanks to him. I'm not going to mention his name. I don't know if he wants to be mentioned, so if he wants to call himself out in the comments, please do. And thanks to him. Thank him, everybody, if you want this review. Okay, so this is JIN SAKAI from Ghost of Tsushima. I have not played the game. I do not have a PlayStation to play the game on, but it looked like a cool game. Pretty popular, cool character design. What could go wrong? Let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Alrighty, this guy stands about, we'll say 14.75 centimeters. That's going to make him about 5 7/8 inches, right around that. And time for a question of the day. Will you collect something like this if it looks cool if you haven't played the game? Like, it's relatively just a generic looking samurai type guy without the helmet, so kind of like a Ronin, something like that. Would you buy something like this just because it looks cool, or do you have to have a connection to the game? For me, it has to be really cool, or I have to have a connection. Something like that. Or it's like, it's so cool that I want to make the connection, so I'll get the figure and then get the game later. That sort of deal. Alright, let's do the aesthetic. First things first. These guys can move around, so if I end up like bumping them or something like that, don't worry about it. They're meant to move around. Lots and lots of detail on here. We'll just zoom in tight. The face is tampography with lots of little dots. From a distance, it looks great. Up close, it looks like lots of little dots. That's reasonable enough. I do think the hair should have been separated from the wrap around the head a little bit more. Both the cloth piece and the metal piece kind of blend in with the hair. That's a little bit irritating. The hair should be darker black. And I do think they should have tried a little bit more to hide the seam in the head, just from an aesthetic perspective. It's such a realistic sculpt, realistic detailing, and then you have a big line down the middle of his head. It's a little bit irritating, but not a big deal. Lots of detail in the chest, all the little ropes and ties and tassels and daggers and or kunai, whatever that would be, I don't know. All the stitching on the armor plate. Lots and lots of detail throughout this guy. All sculpted, all painted, all very nicely done. Down here we have even more. The cape part is cloth, and it says in the little instruction booklet, if you don't want it to look so clean, if you want it to match the game more, to just use your fingers or some tweezers or something and just fray the edges a little bit and it'll match the game more. But this is actually stitched, so that's cool. And then this is just a logo, I guess, that's printed on. But very, very nicely detailed all the way around. Exquisite detail. Figma is not one to shy away from packing in detail on a small figure, so they have done that here very, very nicely. So that's awesome. Aesthetically speaking, it's phenomenally good. So like 9.9. There are issues, a few ones, like the hair matching the headband and stuff like that, but it looks really, really nice. Now, as far as accessories go, for all of the blades, well, they're not all swords, but for the 3 different size swords, it's a katana, wakizashi, and a tanto. They all have, like, the scabbards are fixed to the figure, and then you can pop the handles off so that it looks like he's drawn them, and then you have the 3 different blades, obviously, and they're all very nicely detailed. Little hamon on there. They look nice. They look good. Okay, so then we get the longbow, nicely detailed, no string on that, and then we get the arrow, also very nicely detailed, so that's cool. We get a wide variety of hands. He comes with 2 fist hands on him in the package, then just all the hands you would need for all the poses you want. And then we have the alternate faceplate, which comes with the mask. However, the mask is very much off-centered, and it's glued on, and that drives me nuts. However, again, it's like that on the packaging. Let me grab the packaging. If you look right there, it's off-centered there too. Was it off-centered in the game for some reason, or is it just that the figure's been messed up since the prototype? Don't care for that. It looks really goofy. I guess you won't notice as much if you look at it from an angle in a dynamic pose. You probably won't notice it at all, but looking square on, the mask, even though sculpted phenomenally well, it's very much crooked, so I hate that. Then lastly, we get our Figma display stand and a baggie for the accessories. So not the widest array of accessories we've seen from Figma, but definitely enough. So 9 out of 10. The face mask being crooked is a problem, but that's a good batch of accessories. Now, you're probably thinking, so far this figure is scoring really high marks. There's got to be a catch. There is. The articulation's not good. It's not good at all. So let's dive into it. A standard Figma articulation, we have the permanently bent ball hinge neck. What I mean by that is it's going to be at an angle. There's a ball socket at the top of the head, then it has to be a ball hinge, and then at a different angle we have the straight peg. So it's very finicky to pose the head. And because of this scarf, which by the way, if you pop the head off, this plastic scarf part, and then the full-on cape is removable. So if you want that, you can definitely do that. You can do that, no problem. But it's definitely finicky to pose the head because of the weird angles and hinges and stuff. And then in an aesthetic perspective, I didn't mention this, I forgot to, the face and neck don't match each other at all because the face has the dot work on there to make it look all detailed and stuff, and then the neck is just glowing skin. It's so bright compared to the face. So yeah, the articulation doesn't function well or look great. The neck itself is on a ball peg. Like, you'll be able to pose it enough, I guess, but it's definitely not going to be super dynamic. Oh yeah, these things fall off, particularly the one on the back. It falls off so much, so frequently. Very frustrating. Okay, so for the shoulders, we have our standard Figma ball peg to ball hinge combo, but that's all the range you get. Because of the little armor pads up here, you get virtually no range raising the arm. Very, very limited. Rotation's fine. It has to happen at an angle, but you get that, and it does wiggle around, but it's very, very basic. You get your bicep swivel mixed into that joint, so that's pretty limited. Then you get your single ball hinge for the elbow. A little bit better than 90, that's fine. Pretty ugly joint. And can you rotate that joint? It doesn't look like it. I think technically you can, but because of the sculpt, you can't get any rotation out of the elbow. So very limited arms. Bummer so far. Little tiny ball hinges for the wrist. They should be bigger ball hinges, but they work well enough. For the torso, it's basically the same as the neck. It's another offset ball hinge, and it works well enough. It leans forward nicely. It leans side to side all right. Leans back all right, and then rotation works. So it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. The lower part of the torso, gosh, these things pop off so much. It's so frustrating. Make the pegs a little bit bigger, please. For the lower torso, it's just your upside down three-way ball peg for the hips and the torso. So that just moves around on a ball peg a little bit. Mostly just rotation. It doesn't have a ton of leaning or anything. The skirt is a floating piece, and we actually have some cloth pieces. All the ones with the gold have cloth connecting them, which is a cool look. I like that. It functions well, and it's a cool look, so I like that a whole bunch. Now the hips go out to the side, basically all the way. They're very loose though. Like they don't hold up the figure's weight. So very, very loose hips, but really good range. It's just your standard ball socket from Figma. I don't know if you can see that from Good Smile. You can get your thigh rotation out of that, your thigh swivel, that's fine. Bringing the legs forward, they do go up pretty far. Not as far as like completely horizontal, but it's not bad. It's all right. We have enough flex in the parts that aren't connected with cloth, and then we have the cloth parts, so that's all right. The knee joint, very loose. Not completely floppy, but precariously loose for holding up the figure's weight. I was expecting them to look a little bit nicer than they do. They don't. They're still Figma knees. But they're okay. You get better than 90 degrees. It'll be fine. They're not great, but they're okay. Then the ankles, just like the wrists, the ball hinge should be a little bit bigger, but they're okay, and you get, obviously, your good range out of that. Toe hinge is perfectly acceptable. It's in the right place, and it's not super floppy. So, yeah, his arms are very limited. His neck is fairly limited. The rest is okay. So it's not as bad as I guess I made it sound, but the arms being limited is a problem. So I'll give the articulation a final rating of 7. I just smacked my light. 7 out of 10. It's acceptable, but I think it should be a lot better. It could be easily a lot better, so it's a little bit of a bummer. But I think you'll be able to pose him enough where the aesthetic that's so good really makes up for the limited posing. So I'm going to give this guy a final rating of just a standard 9 out of 10. No 9 point anything, just 9 out of 10. The articulation does bring it down a bit, and you could really argue for an 8 given the limitations of the arms. But it's still a solid piece. It looks like he would have like a butterfly joint, but it doesn't seem to. So, I don't know. It's just 2 pieces of plastic, I guess, to make the chest. But yeah, 9 out of 10. It's a good figure for sure. It looks really good, mostly. Poses well enough, I guess, and has a cool spread. So, there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.